Welcome into the CHGO Blackhawks Podcast presented by PointsBet. Use promo code CHGO when you sign up to get 2 risk-free bets up to $2,000, but that's not it. If you make a $50 or more first-time deposit at PointsBet, you'll receive a free CHGO membership that unlocks all of our great written content, and you'll even get a free shirt of your choice from the CHGO locker. That's $2,000 in free bets, a free CHGO membership, and a free t-shirt from the CHGO locker, all for making a $50 or more first-time deposit at PointsBet. I'm Jay Zawoski, Greg Boyson, Mario Tirabassi. We're all here. We're back at even strength,
yes,
which is great. We're in our formal wear today.
Yeah.
Because we attended the Blackhawks brass, I don't know, you call that a press conference, town hall, whatever you want to call it, but
I don't know if we're calling things town halls anymore.
We try to scratch town hall off the old menu.
Yeah, that was it was just a hi, this is who we are kind of thing.
Hello.
Meet and greet.
We are people. Meet and greet is correct.
Meet and greet, yeah.
Lots of cookies and wraps and all sorts of good stuff down there. But it was cool to see Kyle Davidson, Jeff Greenberg, and Norm McIver together as a trio. It's the first time we've had the opportunity to talk to Jeff Greenberg. So, we've heard a lot from Kyle, and don't know if we learned anything really new from him, but I was really interested in what Jeff Greenberg had to say today. What did you guys take away from the festivities?
I think it was great to see them all together for the first time as kind of the formal introduction of, like, this is our hockey operations executive group. Like, this is all of them together, the general manager, 2 associate GMs. They all sounded very kind of unified in their messaging. When it comes to the future of the Blackhawks and what they want to accomplish. And I think with Greenberg, a lot of it was focused on, like, okay, like, we heard a lot about this, like, new systems and things like that that they want him to bring into the team and how that's going to be utilized. And I think a lot of it came down to, like, streamlining communication within the organization. Mm-hmm. And I think that is one of the keys to Davidson's plan for the rebuild, is to make sure that, like, everyone's on the same path. And I think that was probably something that, the previous general manager in Stan Bowman and his group, it seemed like the path would not only change, but it also seemed like people, like we kind of learned that McIver and Bowman were not usually on the same page.
Yes.
That kind of communication, people might have been on different pages. So I think that's one of the big things that I took away, is that a lot of the focus for the team moving forward is going to be everyone's going forward together. Everyone's pushing, to use a term from the football world, everyone's rowing the boat in the same direction.
Yeah, Kyle Davidson is been impressive because he's a guy that is pretty much standing up and saying, I don't know everything that I'm supposed to know.
Yeah. So
I'm bringing in the people who I think are the smartest people that can help me, and we're going to do this as a team. It doesn't seem like, and those 3 guys together, none of them seems to be like the guy that wants the credit for if this leads to another Stanley Cup championship. They don't care who gets to be the mastermind as long as the mission is accomplished. We kind of joked watching the 3 of them up there that we were like, hey, look, it's Norm McIver with his 2 sons at a golf outing. He's obviously the experienced guy out of the trio. Jeff Greenberg is a very smart man. When he starts talking systems and numbers, for me, who's not a numbers guy per se, it starts to sound like the teacher from Charlie Brown a little bit, but that's why he's there and I'm not. Mm-hmm. But he's a guy that Kyle Davidson obviously trusts. He knows. Listen, he came from building data systems for Theo Epstein and Jed Hoyer.
Yeah.
Theo Epstein is one of the most brilliant sports executives we've ever seen. And in the way his analytical mind can take a spreadsheet of numbers and turn it into championship teams, it's amazing. And if we can get a sliver of that.
Yeah, for
with
real.
the Blackhawks, it's a good thing. He's trying new ideas, and then you got Norm McIver, who's like the NHL vet, the guy that played in the NHL, the guy that coached in the American League. He's seen it all,
Right.
and so he's kind of like the guy that is there to be, I don't want to say the adult in the room because that's insulting, but he's the guy that's got the experience. Nothing's going to surprise him, and that's huge for Kyle to lean on. You could tell that they had a good relationship while Kyle was working his way up through the ranks, and it's a guy that he trusts, and that's the key. He's surrounding himself with people he trusts and people he thinks are very smart, and he's willing to listen to them. He's going to lean on those, and that's so important.
Yeah, Powell's in the chat says, the more I hear about Stan, it seems that he wanted everyone to see him as the smartest one in the room, straight up toxic. And I don't know if I would go as far as to call it toxic, but yeah, we have heard from a lot of people, a little bit before Bowman was gone and much more now that he's gone, that there was a bit of a clash. Like, the scouting staff would recommend something and Bowman would go against it. Mm-hmm. And one thing that really stood out to me today was Norm McIver was asked, did you ever dream that you'd be back with the Blackhawks? And he sort of chuckled and said, I don't want to misquote him, but something in the lines of not my wildest dreams, because he did not leave on great terms. It wasn't bad. It's not like you know what I mean? But him and Stan were like two factions kind of. And there were the McIver guys, many of which are still there in the scouting staff, and there were the Bowman guys. And when you see the moves that were made very quickly after Kyle Davidson came in, you could probably decipher who's who.
Yeah, and he did mention a little bit about the way that they're going to approach scouting will be a little bit tweaked going into this draft, but it'll change after this draft.
Right.
I think they're going to use this draft as kind of a launching pad of like, okay, we made some small tweaks, now we're going to reevaluate everything, and we're going to make maybe some major moves. Is still to be seen, but it is interesting that even just going into this draft, which is an accelerated process for this group to be together for, it already looks like they're changing a little bit of the mindset and challenging the scouting department in a different way than they have in previous years.
Yeah, and Davidson mentioned too, like it's kind of too late in the process to implement any sort of new data, new scouting, because
seasons are over.
Yeah, but
been done,
by the time he's been in, all that data has been gathered already. So you'll start to see the new systems, probably the very infant stages of it, kick in next year's draft. Because I don't know if it was Davidson or Greenberg that said it's probably a year away from even really being utilized.
Yeah,
because it takes so much to develop and the literal software development, but then building from nothing to a complete, a trustworthy, functional system. That's a huge process. Mm-hmm. So it's going to take time, just like the rebuild is going to. It's going to take time. It's going to take patience. And, it seems like everybody there, like you guys said, they're all on the same page. They all understand it's going to take time. And, Greg, your point of Kyle Davidson has his strengths. Jeff Greenberg has his, Norm McIver has his, and ideally they become like one big Voltron, right? Like they all form together as this really great thing with the analytical mind and the scouting mind and the eye test and the numbers and all those things that you need to have a complete scouting staff.
Well, you can kind of, and not to self-promote here, but I'm going to.
You should.
You can kind of compare it to how the team here at CHGO was built.
Yeah.
You've got guys who are experienced beat reporters. You've got guys who are podcasts, you've got personalities, you've got people with social media. You put them all together in one team, and then you hire the people that you think could do the jobs, and then you just go let them do their jobs. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's kind of...
That's ideal. That is an ideal workplace.
Like, Kyle Davidson comes off to me as a guy that has zero ego.
Right.
That may change over time. That may change with success. But right now, he's a guy that's like, listen, my job here is to make the Chicago Blackhawks a good team and sustain that level for as long as possible. And I'm not going to do it on my own. I can't do it on my own, and I don't care that other people may get some credit. I'm going to do my job, and here are the people that are going to help me do my job. That's huge going forward. And he's a guy that has his plan. He's a guy that doesn't seem like there's not going to be many knee-jerk reactions out of the Kyle Davidson office, at least not for a while.
Right.
Like, he was asked today about the coaching search. Obviously, that was a big topic, especially today, off day, all of a sudden, Lane Lambert's the new Islanders coach.
Yeah, very quick.
Pete DeBoer booted out of Vegas, kind of predicted that. When does Barry Trotz get that gig? So he was flat out asked, hey, with all this stuff happening today, does this speed up your process? He says no. He flat out admitted, we don't even really have a candidate list built yet. We're still working that. He's like, so he's not going to see what other teams are doing and say, oh, crap, I got to rush. Now, that might not be that could be a bad thing.
See, I was just going to say, like,
Yeah.
when he said that, I was like, you don't have a list yet?
Yeah,
but I'm sure he does.
He does.
There's some note in his desk of 10, 15
He knows
names.
the guys he wants to call.
Right.
He just doesn't know if they're going to answer his phone yet.
And there could be some assistants that are still
playing.
coaching.
I'm sure, I would hope.
You know,
I would hope you want to tap some guys on
Right.
Tampa or Florida or Colorado, whoever.
But he is holding his cards close to his vest. That's right.
That's the
right
correct
thing,
term.
right?
Yes,
Thank
that's
you.
how it's used.
But I would like to know, and he's of no obligation to tell us, obviously. I'd like to know what he's looking for in a coach. And he was asked flat out, do you want a hard ass? Do you want a numbers guy? Do you want a young up and comer that can grow with the team? And he's like, we got our options open.
Yeah.
We're
not married to any of those
not,
guys.
that
I
was
think
the
is what
term.
he
Not
said,
married
yeah.
to any of those characteristics. I would like to know, and I think as the candidate list emerges in a few weeks or a month or whatever it might be, we'll probably get a cleaner picture of what he's looking for. But it's kind of hard for the three of us to let's pull a bunch of names and talk about them until we know even a little bit as to what he's looking for in a coach. It's kind of hard to do that because I don't think someone like John Tortorella is or should be on his list.
No.
But I don't know.
They might.
Well,
yeah.
we could see the same thing we saw at the general manager search, where he's going to interview a guy like that, like they did with
True.
Peter Chiarelli,
Yeah.
not to like they did with Jeff Greenberg.
Yeah.
Not necessarily take him seriously to get the job, but just to kind of pick a brain of a guy like that, to just use that information going forward.
Yeah, it's never harmful to pick a brain.
No.
And I think just to Hawks fans, if you see a name that terrifies you, just know, just like Chiarelli during the GM search, we're all
Everybody
like,
freaked
what?
out.
No, God,
Yeah,
please not
me
that.
included.
Bring Bowman back.
Right,
You know,
yeah.
I had my pitchfork and torch ready to go. I was ready to storm United Center.
Yeah. But hey, bringing in a guy with that much experience and just saying, hey, what do you have to offer us? What have you learned over the years? And then, okay, make a note of that. Thank you. See ya.
Yeah.
Make a nice little note of some of the facts that
Definitely sounded like we'll get that answer July-ish.
that's what he said.
Yeah.
Probably after the
It'll-
draft,
early-
after free
yeah.
agency, then he'll move on. So this is a guy that's got.
I would hope before free agency, because I would like the coach to have some sort of input on the players that he's going to have to coach a little bit at least.
Normally I would agree with you, but I think in this situation it's not the end of the world, because who are
No.
they really going after this summer?
Right. No, I agree.
Yeah,
I agree.
But to your point, if this was a team that is ready to, they are a free agent away from
player and
moving up, yeah.
coach fits still make a difference for
Coach
sure.
Fitz, go Cats. One of the interesting things, our guy Tab Bamford asked Norm McIver about being part of a expansion team.
With Seattle.
And
Stole my question, by the way. I was just about ready to ask that.
I really like McIver's answer about, we knew we weren't going to be able to get elite talent, but we wanted to have a core of character players that would play hard and play the right way. So when star marquee players did come, they were coming into an established, settled team, and they could just play their game and do what they needed to do instead of having to come in and reinvent the culture. That is really interesting to me. And that's something that, remember, towards the end of this year, we saw a lot of some of the veterans on the Hawks, specifically for me, Tyler Johnson, really step up and show character and talk about the character it takes to win in this league. I'm not saying you're going to go sign a guy for $5 million or whatever, but a guy like Tyler Johnson, towards the end of his career, with a lot of experience, who's, the big name teams aren't really bidding on anymore, to have players like that come in and fill these gaps until the kids are ready to set that culture with the young players. The fact that McIver went out of his way to specifically detail that part of the expansion was really interesting to me, and it's something I'm going to keep an eye on as free agency approaches, and who knows, maybe some trades approach too.
Yeah, that'll be interesting. And to the point of the coaching search, what we also learned was that not only are Davidson, Greenberg, and McIver going to be involved in it, but also Brian Campbell, Kyle Davidson's best buddy, is going to be part of that as well. And it would be interesting to see how the team handles that in the search, whether it's going to be very public, so we have the opportunity to be like, oh, let's talk about this candidate. Let's talk about this candidate. Or is it going to be like, we're doing our search, we have our list, and then we'll let you know who we all interviewed and who we hired, kind of thing. It'll be interesting to see how that pans out.
If I predict, I think they're going to be very public with it.
Yeah.
They were very public with the GM search. They released who they were talking to. They gave out a buyout of all these people when they came through the office. I think they'll do the same thing.
Yeah.
I think the term you hear transparency said a lot, but I think that's very important to Danny Wirtz and Jamie Faulkner. As we've heard from them over the past few months, and I'm not saying it's because of the whole lawsuit thing, but that probably helped with that too. But I
sure
think
it's part of it. Yeah.
I'm sure it is, but I'm getting to know those two a little bit the last few months. I think that was important to them before all that, but now that makes it even more to the forefront. Look at how transparent we're being. I think they'll be pretty public about who they're interviewing, and I'm also selfishly want that because that's like a full episode for each coaching candidate during the off season.
I just don't know the downside of it. I don't know the downside of being transparent with your fan base and telling them what you're seeking and the kind of coach you're trying to hire and the minds you're picking. I think it's a good thing. Like, it didn't hurt them. I mean, they ended up hiring Kyle Davidson, so it's kind of hard to say, but I just don't see any harm in saying these are the people we're talking to. This is why. I think it's a good thing, and letting the fans in and letting the fans debate. Those are good things for the team. It keeps Hawks top of mind. Right.
Yeah.
And if you look at it even from, maybe that's a little bit cynical, but still, it keeps the Blackhawks in the conversation. It keeps them top of mind. To me, there's no downside to transparency unless you think some other team is going to swoop in and steal your coach.
Right.
It just doesn't work that way, though.
There are no secrets in the NHL.
Exactly.
Everybody knows who's talking to everybody.
Yes.
Nobody can keep their mouth shut.
And being public with who you're interviewing can help down the road, because as we saw with Jeff Greenberg, they brought him in to interview for the GM position, and everyone's like, well, who is this person from the Cubs, from outside of hockey that they're bringing in? You get to learn a little bit about him, and then lo and behold, he finds his way to the organization anyways. So it's easier to be like, oh, hey, remember that guy? Yeah, he's with us, and you already know a little bit about him going into kind of accepting him in this new role.
And if the team isn't going to put it out there, you damn well know that the guys interviewing are going to make sure it gets out there. They want their names out there.
Yeah.
Hey, I got interviewed for this job and this job. I'm a hot coaching prospect. Come interview me.
There you go.
So there's no way they can keep it. So it's going to get out anyway, so you might as well be the one breaking the news as opposed to whoever gets the scoop from the intern at the office that texted them that so-and-so walked in the door.
Yeah. Right. A couple of things we want to mention about this week's shows. We're going to start our player evaluations on Wednesday. We're going to do I'm going out of order here. Tomorrow we're going to preview the second round. Wednesday we'll do our player evals. Thursday is our first big throwback Thursday. Friday we're audio only. So 1:30 every day from Tuesday to Friday. So keep an eye on that. We appreciate the support we've gotten. I know there's not a ton happening on Planet Blackhawks right now, but you guys have been there for us, and we appreciate it. And the other great way to support us here at CHGO is to download that PointsBet app. Make sure you use that code CHGO when you sign up. And if you do that right now, you're going to get 2 risk-free bets up to $2,000. But that's not it. Make a $50 or more first-time deposit, and you'll get a free CHGO membership. That unlocks all of our web content. You get a free T-shirt of your choice from the CHGO locker, access to our Discord. I jumped in on our Discord last night and congratulated January on the Rangers winning.
Yep.
In overtime, Artemi Panarin with the game winner. We're going to get to that probably a little bit later in the show.
I had no idea.
She is a Rangers fan, yes. Little known fact. So that's $2,000 in free bets, a free CHGO membership, and a free T-shirt from the CHGO locker, all for making a $50 or more first-time deposit at PointsBet. It's your home for live in-play betting, and it just got even better. Introducing PointsBet's new feature, Live NBA Same Game Parlay. For the first time ever, you can build the perfect live NBA Same Game Parlay only with PointsBet. Combine your favorite bets anytime during the game. Watch live, parlay live, and boost live with PointsBet. And don't forget, registration is now available in Illinois. Online sign up. Take out your phone, Sign up from start to finish. You'll be good to go. Couldn't be easier. So what are you waiting for? Once the game starts, don't just bet. Live your bet life with PointsBet. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-522-4700.
And if you're not a member of the CHGO sports family, what are you doing?
Yeah, come on.
You gotta get in on all the great content that we have. Becoming a member of CHGO, you get not only access to our written content about the Blackhawks. Greg was writing up about the Wolves and Ice Hogs and their playoff series, which was probably not as fun as we had all hoped it was going to be. But you get
that was quick.
You get access to that. We're gonna be writing up about our playoff predictions. We're gonna have a lot of coverage as the drafts gets closer. We'll start previewing some names that the Blackhawks could have on their board. It's not just us. It's the Bulls. It's the White Sox. It's the Cubs, Bears, the Fire, the Red Stars, the Sky. Like we got all of Chicago covered. Premium written content on allchgo.com, so you get access to that. Jay mentioned the Discord. All our dope merch that we have available.
Free shirts.
It's good stuff. So
who doesn't like free
become
shirts?
a member, support CHGO, help us continue onward and upward as we grow in the city.
It's and the support has been wonderful.
Fantastic.
I had more than a handful of people, both at the Allstate Arena and in Rockford over the weekend, come up and introduce themselves and say they've been watching the show and they love the content.
Thank you.
That still blows my mind to be recognized out in public. Like, oh, okay, I'm not uncomfortable at all. But that's great. I had a buddy of mine text me. He was at Brookfield Zoo on Saturday and saw somebody wearing a CHGO shirt at the zoo.
Oh,
so,
nice.
Like, it's awesome. It's this whole experience has been beyond anything that I could have imagined. So
it's really cool, and
none of this right here is possible without you guys becoming members, without you guys signing up for the points bets, watching the shows, wearing the shirts. It's we owe it all to you guys.
Yeah, it all goes together. And we before we get to a little more on the press conference today, update to our CHGO Blackhawks bracket challenge. 2 people tied for first place. Pat Foley's last hurrah with 92 points, and Doug Thompson with 92 points. Doug has Calgary winning the Cup, and Pat Foley's last hurrah with the Hurricanes winning the Cup. So I'm in 7th place.
Interesting pick.
And right behind me at 7th also, Jeremy Colleton. That's the username.
Oh, nice.
So
it's good to see. Good to see Coach getting in on the
I wonder
action.
if we could find Blackie Hubcap and have him come here in studio with us.
Yeah.
just to burn some bridges. What do you think?
I mean,
His wife is all over Twitter.
If he's up for it, I'm up for it. I think I still have his phone number. If
I got
it's still
nothing
his
against
phone
the
number.
guy. It can't hurt to ask,
Can't hurt to ask.
right?
Yeah. Wonder
then
if his
we'll-
name will come up in any coaching searches this offseason.
Are the St. Jude Knights hiring?
They could be.
I don't know. You
There
never
could be
know.
there could be some U13 team in Sweden that needs a
Yes,
guy.
there you go. An innovator.
Yes.
So another thing that stood out to me today, Kyle Davidson kind of saying that they'd like to get into the first round if possible.
Of the draft, yeah.
Yeah, and saying, that's how, something along the lines of that's how they're going to build this team.
That's where the talent
That's where the talent
is
is.
what he
Yeah,
said.
yeah.
Which is not wrong.
It's true, and Norm McIver went on later to point out that they got some good second-round talent, Saad, DeBrincat, etc. So there is some talent in the second round, but it did sound like the Hawks are going to try at least to get into that first round. So they're approaching the draft as if they have a first-round pick. That's what they said. So this will really be – the draft will be our first indication of how aggressive Kyle Davidson is as a GM.
Yeah.
Is he happy to just sort of, take all the picks he's got, or does he want to maybe sacrifice a few to go get a better player? And that's a tough thing to weigh when you're so far down and so far away from contending. Because look, as we've watched these game 7s or games 7 over the weekend, you really see the talent gap between those teams.
Yeah.
And it's massive.
Oh, yeah.
It's massive. So it's the balance of, do you want quantity and hope that you hit on a couple, or do you want to take a risk and trade up and get some higher quality players that are probably a little bit of a safer bet? I don't know. It's going to be really interesting to see how the draft unfolds this year.
I don't think either one of those scenarios is wrong in the
neither.
situation that they're in.
No, of course.
I think we did get a little bit of a clue that Kyle Davidson will be aggressive with the Brendan Hagel deal.
True.
That kind of showed us that, like, hey, I don't care if people are going to say mean things about me on Twitter because I traded away your favorite player for way more than he's ever going to be worth. But, I think he definitely sounded like a guy that wants to get in the first round, but also was realistic about it. Like, hey, I'm going to try, but it probably won't happen. But you never know. They've got, 3 second-round picks right now?
I think if the Keith
it's
trade,
3 third-round picks, they have 5 picks between the second and
picks
third
in the
round.
second and third
We
round.
have 2 extra first-round picks the next 2 seasons with the Tampa picks.
All right, here I'm looking at the next 3 years of draft. No first-round pick this year. 2 seconds, 3 thirds, 2 sixths, and a 7th.
And one of those thirds can
become a
The
second.
Edmonton third could become a second.
It's not,
If the Oilers
but it
reach the
still
Cup
can.
final and keep this top 4 in ice time.
Probably won't happen.
Probably
but, hey,
won't, but it's
more of a possibility than getting the Wild's first round pick
Yes.
is.
2023,
It's a
2
fact.
firsts, 2 seconds, a third, a fourth, a fifth, a sixth, a seventh.
Nice.
2024, 2 firsts, a second, third, 2 fifths, a sixth, and a seventh.
Nice.
There's your next 3
So
years.
they've got some capital to try
They
and
do have
do
some
it.
capital.
Some extra
Yes.
picks to work with.
So I mean, they're not in a position where they should really be giving up a ton of assets at this point. But if they got a guy that they think is going to be a foundation piece that they have to have, and they're willing to give up one of those Tampa picks, and one of their third rounders this year, I'd be okay with that. Obviously, you can't judge the trade the second it happens. You
Right.
got to see who they
Right.
get. You got to see how that guy pans out. So, but he said both he and I think it was Norm McIver that actually said it. We want to be prepared for every single possible scenario on draft day.
Yes.
Whether it's getting into the first round, whether it's not having a first round pick, they want to be prepared so there's no curveballs thrown at them. And then that's all I'm asking for right now is just have an idea of what you want to do and then try and make it happen.
When it sounds
it's not
like
that hard to ask, right?
McIver made it sound like the number 1 priority is getting that draft board set, and several times
Best player
said we will
available.
take the best player available, and that's what they should do because
They're-
they've got a hole everywhere.
Yeah, they're not in a position to be like, oh, we need to just plug this one player in and we'll be good.
You need
like,
a center. Well, yeah, you need a center, and
You
then
need
another
3.
center, and then another center, and 6 wingers, and 2 defensemen, and 5 goalies. Like,
yeah, exactly.
But the one thing, like, they wouldn't really kind of tell you targets or exactly what but the one thing that they've said Kyle said it in his end of the season presser a couple weeks ago. They reiterated today. They want to get faster.
Yes.
They want to add speed to this team. It's something this team lacks. It's something the Ice Hogs lack. They don't have a lot of team speed. And you watch teams play over the weekend. They are all fast. The teams that were the slowest in the playoffs are no longer in the playoffs.
Right.
Like, speed kills in the NHL today. So, they see that. They identify we need speed. So that's a good place to start.
Yes.
Start fast. And he also said we're not just going to go get a bunch of fast guys. They have to be good hockey players too.
So
Right.
no Victor Stahlberg, you're
Right.
saying?
No Victor Stahlberg.
Just go as fast as you can, then fall down.
You can only build a team with so many Sam Laffertys. Like, you got one.
Yes.
That's probably all you need.
Right.
But you need those players that are going to be, fast and have the high end talent. And I think that's where maybe the goal of getting back into this first round probably lies. You need to get someone who's not only going to be just one dimensional, and you have to develop the rest of their game, which is normally what you see with the second, third, fourth, fifth round guys. You want to have a guy who's a first round talent because he's a first round talent, and there's something
Who
there.
just happens to be fast.
It's like you have speed, but you also, he's got great shot,
Yeah.
great size, great hands.
6th and 7th round is when you go, holy cow, that guy's really fast. He can't do anything else, but let's see if we can teach him how to play hockey.
Maybe he'll be able to finish at one point, but yeah, he can skate the hell out
the
of it.
Bears every year? Every year they draft a guy that can jump out of a swimming pool or jump over a truck
Yes,
or something.
right.
Yeah, or
Yes.
do a backflip
All right,
on the
let's
beach
get
or
with
something.
The athlete,
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
gonna throw you guys a name from the past. Speaking of fast guys that can't score, do you remember Tony Salmelainen?
No.
No.
Sounds like
played-
something you get when you eat undercooked fish.
He played in 2006, 2007. He was an international free agent. 57 games with the Hawks, 6 goals, 11 assists. He was fast, and that was it.
Yeah.
I don't remember him.
Yeah, I have a weird recollection of old Hawks from the era of suck. if there was some job
I
where
do
that,
too,
well,
but
I guess this is it.
This would be it.
Yeah, I guess this would be it, right?
He sounds like a perfect candidate for our random Blackhawk of the week that will be featured on Furback Thursdays.
Well, there you go. There's a tease. His birthday is August 8th, so put that in your calendar.
I will.
Tony Salmelainen.
Tony Salmonella.
More importantly
Sounds like
than
a
me
monster.
remembering him is that I spelled his last name correctly at first Google.
Oh, wow.
That's impressive.
I mean,
Myself to Barry Horowitz.
You have got a master of the Finnish language. I'm assuming he's Finnish.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
He's from
Not a lot of-
Espoo,
not a lot
Espoo,
of-
Finland.
Not a lot of Tonys in Finland, but the last name gave it away.
Yeah, and it's Tony.
oh, I would have thought it would be like a
T-O-N-I.
with
It's
an
like
I.
Tonii with the umlaut over it or
Yeah.
anything. Yeah. Well, it's
He's no Jeff Hamilton, but
I just
Number
I say
51.
I want the playoffs to end. Good old number 51, Jeff Hamilton. Such a dork. There's something wrong with me. I don't want the playoffs to end because they've been so awesome, but I want them to end so we can get to the damn offseason and start really getting into like this next version of the Hawks.
Next phase, yeah.
But let's get into it, man. This weekend of hockey was just I could not sleep last night after the Calgary game.
Yeah.
I was just
that was such a good game.
I was watching that game as a fan, and I wanted Calgary to win, right? But I was simultaneously rooting for both teams.
Right.
Because Ottinger was unbelievable. There were so many. Who had the shot from the slot? Was it Gaudreau?
Yeah.
Where he was like,
Was it the play where he caught it out of the air?
Yes.
And yeah. That was insane.
oh my God, there were so many chances that he stopped where I'm like, game over. 5, 6, 7 times. The guy was standing on his head, and you saw when that game ended, someone from the press box just had like the press box camera phone of the handshake line beginning to form, and every Stars player went over to him and just gave him a long
They even
embrace.
said on the broadcast, this is going to be a longer handshake line than usual because everybody's going to
Yes.
stop, and they did. They were all like, "Dude, I'm that kid." And then I saw a lot on Twitter that people reminding that the Blackhawks traded
God.
down that year with the Stars?
It was
And
with the Stars.
and the Stars used the
Stars
pick
and
to
Hawks
take,
flipped picks. Yep.
They took Ottinger, and the Hawks took Joki Haru.
Which means the Blackhawks traded Jake Ottinger for Alex Nylander.
For Sam Lafferty.
I'm still going to call that a loss. As much as we love Sam
That's a
Lafferty.
Yeah.
big loss.
By the
But then
way,
I was
Jake Ottinger, a free agent, restricted free agent after this season.
I don't
He-
think
he's
he's
not
going to
going
go
anywhere.
anywhere.
No, I don't think so either.
I think
He's gonna
Dallas
be-
is like, ooh, I think we figured out our
We have
goaltender
our
position.
They're going to be like, bridge deal? And he'll say, no.
Nope.
No thanks.
Yeah, he's getting paid
Yeah,
this summer.
he's getting yep.
But the thing, the people kept reminding on Blackhawks could have drafted him. So I just replied to one of them, our buddy Stash. I think he follows all of us. I said, yeah, like the Blackhawks would have developed him correctly anyways. Like, let's just move on.
True.
They would have drafted him, and Stan Bowman would have traded him a year later for some other bum. Like, come on. Like,
Yeah, he
new
would've-
regime.
he would've-
I'm
yeah.
hopeful, but in Stan Bowman 2016-17 era, he wouldn't be in the NHL right now. At least not for the Hawks.
If we're talking about Drew Comezzo at 23 doing what Jake Ottinger or something similar to what Jake Ottinger did, both of them went to Boston. I think that's a huge win, and it would speak to a path of development.
Right.
Because I think a lot of people recognize Comezzo as probably the best prospect that they have in the goaltending position. Arvid Soderblom did a great job in Rockford, but I think probably the organization looks at Comezzo as like, we hope you turn into something pretty good, and he's on a good path as a prospect. But if they can take that path with him, where it's like at the time he's 22, 23, he's ready to make the leap to the NHL, that's a win. You don't want to push him at 20,
and
21.
the Stars took their time with Ottinger. He spent 2 seasons in the AHL, and he was good, but he struggled down there at times too. He went through his phases where he
it'll
looked like he
happen.
couldn't stop a beach ball. But
Right.
they took their time, and even this year, he was never the guy this year until he had to be. They dealt with injuries. I mean, they started the year with Braden Holtby and
Hudobin.
Yeah.
Knowing that they wanted to give
And-
Ottinger another season.
And Ben Bishop was in the
Yeah.
picture until his
Right, until
injury
he-
ended it. Yeah.
So Ottinger started the season in the AHL this year. So it had Holtby and then Hudobin panned out like they thought they were going to, he would have been in the Calder Cup playoffs against the Ice Hogs and not the Stanley Cup playoffs. So that just goes to show you, especially at that position, you got to be patient. And the most interesting thing from that game, and I know you wanted to touch up on this guy, speaking of former Blackhawks, Nikita Zadorov led all the Flames in ice time.
Yes.
Over almost 29 minutes of ice time. Like, if you were to tell me that Nikita Zadorov is going to lead your defenseman in ice time in a Game 7 or overtime, I'm going to ask you, what time's your tea time tomorrow?
And
Because
not only did he lead them in ice time,
he was good.
He looked really good.
Mm-hmm.
Amazing what a coach that puts the fear of God into him can do for a player like
And
that.
a system
That
a system that
Details,
works.
Minor details.
that fits the players that are on the team.
Yeah.
He was tremendous. All right, maybe that's an overstatement. He was really
He's
good.
He
really
was
good.
tremendous
He was
to
playing-
Nikita Zadorov
Yes.
standards.
Playing to what he can do the best.
Right.
And I think that is not something we saw with him in Chicago. And to you guys' points, he did not fit the system. And I think a lot of people saw right away, like when Zadorov came to Chicago, it was just like, well, this isn't going to work. And you see it now in Calgary, and you saw what he did in Colorado, and you're just like, oh, okay, this is the player he should be able to be. And it's as much as he was kind of a punchline at times in with the Blackhawks, it's great to see him playing up to this level. You don't want to ever just root against the guy just because he didn't fit where he was at the time in his career. So yeah, I'm glad to see him doing well.
When the Hawks traded Brandon Saad to Colorado for Nikita Zadorov, it was summer. I went back and watched every Hawks Colorado game. Because I remember when that trade was made, Patrick Kane said something along the lines of playing against Zadorov is a pain in the ass.
Yeah.
And it's a guy who always gives me a hard time. And I went and watched a lot of those games and really isolated on Zadorov. And what Kane was saying was right. He was like, look, he's not a puck mover, he's not a scorer, but he's a guy that can shut you down defensively. Yeah, he's going to make the occasional dumb hit, but he plays over the line sometimes, but it comes with being a giant defenseman,
Yeah.
right? And those things are going to happen. And look, like some guys have to play with that edge, and it works. And you live with the penalties if the play is good enough. Comes to Chicago, and it's a different guy. It's like, this is not the same guy I watched play several games this summer against the Hawks. This is a different player, and they're using him differently, and like you said, it's not working. Then towards the end, maybe kind of a little bit figured things out, but now you see him in Calgary, and he's playing really well, and for him, it is timing up beautifully. As an unrestricted free agent, he's going to get the old Jason Cullimore treatment, where some team's going to be like, that's the guy we got to pay a ton of money to get, and then
he's going to get bickled.
he's not quite that guy.
4x4 deal. Yeah.
Yeah. 4x4 now would be good.
Well, that'd be,
Yeah.
that'd be fine.
Yeah, there you
yeah.
go.
He's
But
gonna get that, yeah,
yeah.
6x4 deal. That's
it'll be interesting to see. I'm looking forward to the Battle of Alberta
It's
is
gonna be
always
It's gonna be a
so
really
much
good
fun.
I am
series.
petitioning, and I want you guys to sign that for this series only, the Oilers revert back to their 1980s uniforms.
Yes. And they should know
And
that
keep
not
them
just this
forever.
series.
Keep them
Forever.
forever,
Just
but
go
start
back
this
to that.
series. Yeah.
What was wrong with that?
I saw a
Nothing.
lot on Twitter that they're going to next season. So
I
let's
think
bring
it's
them
I think
now.
it's going to be their reverse retro
Well,
design,
bust
but
those
I
out
think
now.
it's planned to be worn more than once.
Put those
So-
uniforms on against the Flames, and I will watch.
Get rid of
100
those
games that.
stupid Navy jerseys.
Yeah,
they're terrible.
They remind me of the Bears.
You don't see
throwback
any of them in
jerseys.
the stands in Edmonton.
No.
No, who wants that?
Here's the thing. People like bright colors. You think about the best uniforms in hockey and in sports. You've got the Hawks with bright red, white, and black, stark colors. The Rangers, red, royal blue,
Royal
not
blue.
navy blue, not a muted. Remember when they went to those horrible Statue of
Oh,
Liberty
yeah, no, those
jerseys?
are bad.
Oh, my God.
Yeah.
They were so ugly. They're so ugly. Dallas and Calgary. Oh, my God. The Calgary uniforms.
Calgary switching back to their old setup. It just looks so good.
I don't know why they think muting is the way to go, and that's how the Oilers jerseys look. Just looks muted.
Even the even the orange ones, the blue is like a navy blue,
Right.
But the orange is so predominant. But I just think the royal blue with the orange was just so good. There was no need
They need to go
change
back to
that.
those. But that's going to be a great series. More Connor McDavid, please. God, just I'll watch him play anybody. He's so good.
Yeah,
he's so good.
We're not going to make our predictions now because our prediction
we got
piece is coming
tomorrow.
out in the morning. But
Very happy for that series.
and thank you for convincing me. You changing my mind.
That's what I'm here for.
Because I tend to root for chaos. I wanted to see
usually do too.
if the Oilers were out in because it's going to happen in Toronto.
Right.
There's going to be panic in the streets because they lost Game 7 to the 2-time back-to-back defending Stanley Cup champions, and everyone's going to freak out, and there's going to be major changes probably that probably don't need to be made.
No.
But if only there was a goalie available at the trade deadline for the Leafs. But it's just going to be awesome to watch. I'm so excited for that series. But all of them,
They're all
Florida
great.
and Tampa in the second round, that's wild. I mean, you could argue they're two best teams in the league.
Mm-hmm.
That argument could be there in the second
Definitely
round
the
matchup.
two best teams in the East.
Two in the East.
Yeah,
for sure.
Yeah,
I mean,
and
The representative from the East, I think, will probably come from that series.
that's a fair assessment. Or do they beat the crap out of each other so bad that here's Carolina picking up more tables?
Right. Yeah. That's
know?
and that's the thing that I wonder. I do wonder about Tampa Bay is how much does that first round against Toronto take out of them, especially with the fact that they've had back-to-back Stanley Cup championship runs. Like that's a lot of hockey for those top guys to be playing.
Tampa to Game 7 of the Stanley Cup Final again this year, so they are so tired next year they don't even make the playoffs, and all
Or
of
they're a
sudden
wild card team and they get bounced in the first
let
round.
them just miss the playoffs, so all of a sudden it's a 15th overall pick for the Blackhawks as opposed to 28th or 29th.
Right, yeah.
Let's tire out those guys.
yeah. Do you have any concern for Calgary in terms of the exhaustion factor too? I know they haven't had 2 years back to back, but that was a grueling series.
Oilers had a grueling series
Oilers
too.
went
Yeah.
7 as well with
True.
a Kings team that was pretty tough. And so
And Draisaitl's not 100%.
Right.
yeah, it seemed looking at some of the teams that have been bounced from the playoffs, we're starting to get the tradition of which player was sent to the hospital but still played the next day in the playoffs.
An 8-inch laceration in my lung.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I
so,
saw Brian Boyles having surgery on something today or something like that.
The only part he hasn't had surgery on yet. Probably.
I don't know if you saw Matthew Dumba apparently had dislocated ribs, broken ribs, a punctured lung, went to the hospital and still played.
Yeah.
I know we revere these guys for playing through the injury, but holy shit, man! Like, take a day off,
Yeah. At some point, you're making your team worse.
and you're
Well, I
like
can't breathe or skate or
endangering your
move or take a
life.
hit, and I could die. Like the drop off between Dumba and the next call up is that drastic? Dumba at 40% of health.
Right.
Like
I don't know,
having a
it's-
broken rib and
it's
a punctured
crazy.
lung is about as
I got-
painful as it
The
gets.
story that I always was told is when I was covering the Chicago Wolves run to the 2019 Calder Cup final. Game 3 of that series, we were told after the series ended in 5. Game 3 of the series, Stefan Matteau, son of Stefan Matteau, former Blackhawk, New York Rangers icon, got cut with a skate. It lacerated his kidney, and he played 2 periods with a bleeding kidney and had to spend 2 nights in the hospital and literally get liters of blood pumped out of him, and then was there for Game 5 in a suit. Like,
Hockey is dumb and awesome.
there is a very fine line between bravery and stupidity,
Yes.
and these guys got one foot on each side of that
yeah,
line.
They
at
toe
all
that
times.
line. Yeah.
He
So
was
I
peeing blood. That's why he went
Is
to the
that bad?
hospital. That's,
You're not-
I've
wait,
never
that's
had
not-
that
You-
happen, but I don't want
usually
that
if that
happen.
happens, you should probably call a doctor.
No,
All
but this
right.
guy put his pads on and took another shift.
There you go.
It's
I mean,
insane. Different breed,
it's
man.
a different
breed.
yeah, it's an absolutely different mindset, and it's
I don't know if I should
Yeah,
yell at
so-
you or respect the hell out of you.
A little bit of both.
You can
It's
do a little bit of both. Yeah. So as far as who's 100%, I don't think anybody is.
Nobody, yeah.
But I to me that's going to be one of the best series of the next round because you have Connor McDavid, you have Leon Draisaitl, you have the firepower of the Oilers, and then you have a very deep, well-rounded team in Calgary that's so tough to play against. We might have a guaranteed, or not a guaranteed. We might have a Canadian team, one of those two in the Cup final, and I could see a scenario in which either one of them gets there through this Western Conference. They'll probably have to go through Colorado though.
Yeah.
Well, those teams are looking for their competitive edge as they head into the second round of playoffs. And if you want to start your day with a competitive edge, you need to start brewing yourself up a big old batch of Strava craft coffee every morning. It is a fantastic product. I'm a big fan. Jay's a big fan. Mario's had it. It's good stuff. And it's a game changer, and it has helped thousands of people improve their overall wellness and quality of life. Strava offers you delicious, fresh roasted specialty coffee in a variety of flavors that is infused with organic broad spectrum CBD. CBD from hemp doesn't make you high or hungry, but it does give you a lot of real benefits, like it helps you feel more alert, more focused, and it comes without the jitters your normal strong cup of coffee may give you. You can live your day more balanced, with less anxiety and fewer aches and pains, and who doesn't want that? Plus, including CBD in your daily routine can even help give you a more restful night's sleep so you can wake up already feeling your best. And the best part, Strava is all about quality. Everything is small batch, fresh, and shipped right to your door. It's amazing coffee that comes with all the health benefits of the CBD. And also, you guys, CHGO listeners, you can save 25% off your entire order by typing in the promo code CHGO25 at checkout. That is 25% off, a whole darn quarter off the price of your order over at StravaCraftCoffee.com. And once again, that promo code is CHGO25 at checkout. And if you're already a big fan of Strava, you can subscribe and save by joining the Strava Coffee Club. That's when you get to tell them what you want, when you want it, and where to ship it to, and it will arrive exactly when you tell them to. It doesn't get any easier than that.
It's so damn good. I had some this morning. Feeling refreshed, feeling good. Wonderful stuff, Strava. I love it. All right, Greg, since I think you said when we walked into the United Center today, you've been in 3 different hockey arenas in the last 36 hours.
Yes.
Something like that. You were all over the Ice Hogs and Wolves series. And look, if you join allchgo.com, you're going to get coverage from all of us, but especially when the Wolves and Ice Hogs are involved. Greg was all over it, driving all over the state to cover the game. So I know it was short, but you were there for all 3. So tell us what we saw from Rockford that concerned you, really, because there's not a whole lot of good to talk about.
Man, there was a lot to be concerned about, but again, it was more of there was such a discrepancy in talent. The Blackhawks, we talk a lot about their young players, and they have some nice young defensemen, but they just don't have the dynamic prospect. Lucas Reichel can't do it all himself offensively. The Wolves have more talent. They've got more veteran talent, and they just, no disregard to Anders Sorensen, the interim coach, took over for Derek King, did a great job even getting to this point. They were out coached in this series too. Ryan Warsofsky of the Chicago Wolves, he had a game plan. He had 12 days to prepare for this series, and he implemented it, and they never, for a single shift, took off from that game plan. They never, wandered in a different direction. They suffocated the Wolves. They outshot them, I believe it was 127 to 46 or 76. Ooh. In the series.
It's a lot.
Game 2, they had a 20-1 shot advantage after the first period, and it was only 2-0.
I didn't look it up, but that has to be one of the largest differences in shots in a single period in the playoffs.
It was men against boys. The Ice Hogs scored the first goal of the series.
And that was it.
And then they gave, but that was the difference right there. Is that first game, first series, Ice Hogs were being outshot 10-1 at the time. Lucas Reichel causes a turnover, scores on the breakaway. They're up 1-0. They're still up 1-0, heading into and then the Wolves scored with 2 minutes to go in the period to tie it. And then they took a penalty right away, and then the Wolves AHL leading goal scorer Stefan Nason scored a power play goal with 10 seconds left in the period. it's 2-1. Series pretty much was over at that point.
Yeah.
And they even said, Ian Mitchell said it, Anders Sorensen said it after yesterday's loss. If they were able to get out of that first period 1-0, they might have been able. The series might have changed, but Saturday night's game 2 was 4-1. It wasn't even that close. Like Arvid Soderblom again was just spectacular. And he didn't play the third period because, they had the quick turnaround on Sunday. He didn't play a third period in game 1. But I know after Saturday, I was told that Arvid was not available for media because he was getting an IV. And then he came back out and played Sunday and played well again. Had to face another 40 shots on Sunday. The Wolves had a little bit more pressure, but they just didn't have the finish. They scored 4 goals in the entire series. 2 of them were from Lucas Reichel. And then you had Ian Mitchell and Alec Regula had the other
nice
2 goals
both of those.
on power plays.
Yeah.
Regula was a coast-to-coast rush right up the middle, made a nice move.
Beautiful goal.
Great goal. So from that standpoint, the guys that have a future with the Blackhawks did what you wanted them to do. Just the team itself just wasn't enough. The Wolves just kept coming and coming and coming, and the Ice Hawks didn't have an answer for it. But it gave these young guys. Got to talk to Isaac Phillips after the game yesterday, and he's just like, it was an eye-opener on how much it just gets amplified. Every shift can end your season, and if you can't bring that intensity, you're going home. And it took them a while, the young guys on that team, to adjust to that. But by the time they made the adjustment, it was just too late.
I think it just was evident throughout the series that the way the Wolves are structured and the way the Ice Hogs are structured are completely different. And the Wolves have those players that know what it takes to get to that extra gear in the postseason. Because you said going into this, it was a note going into this series is how well the Ice Hogs played against the Wolves during the regular season. They had, one of the best records that they've had against them individually in a long time. And you see it gets to the postseason, it's completely different. And it wasn't even close to what, we saw in the regular season. And it's just, the Wolves have the players that know how to get to that next level in the postseason, and the Ice Hogs don't because they're so young.
Well, now they've some of those guys who are going to be looked upon in this rebuild now have an idea.
They've seen it.
What was important. Mm-hmm. Yes, it was only 5 games in the playoffs, but there's important lessons to be learned there. And so maybe next season, hopefully they're in the playoffs again. They won't be caught as off guard, and they'll be ready to go right away.
And it's good too that they didn't just their first experience wasn't just getting their ass handed to them by the Wolves. They had 2 tough games against the Stars to get to the series against the Wolves. So you have some postseason experience and success,
and positive
and then you
experience.
and then you have a tough lesson.
Yeah.
It's funny. Theo Epstein's name came up today when Jeff Greenberg was speaking, and one of the first things he did when he came to the Cubs, before the championships, before the World Series, before the pennants, all those things, he got the entire organization under one plan. And people made fun of it. He called it the Cubs way, and it was mocked and ridiculed and all those things, but it freaking worked. Mm-hmm. From Iowa to Chicago to all the minor league affiliates at the time, it was a handbook on how to do things. And hopefully Kyle Davidson and his team now can implement their own kind of version of the Hawks way and have Rockford playing the style of Chicago and teaching the same things in the same ways in the same system. So when these guys come up, there's not such a big learning curve and they're ready to go. And I know it's apples and oranges, hockey and baseball. 2 sports could not be more different. I understand that. But just in terms of organizational togetherness is so hugely important. And I really hope that when Davidson and company really get into the evaluation, and it might not be this summer because there is so much to do this summer, so much to do. But as they look long-term at the future of this franchise, from Indy Fuel to Rockford to Chicago, should have a cohesive plan, a cohesive vision that everyone's on the same page and everybody understands and the coaches are collaborating together. And that, to me, would be ideal. It remains to be seen. But, look, I think we all agree from what we've heard from the Hawks' new leadership so far, we've all been very encouraged. We've all been very positive about it. So let's see. And hopefully in a few years, the Hawks can get to the point where some of these playoff teams are. Playoffs start tomorrow. We're going to have our full round 2 preview show tomorrow. Once that's over, we're going to drop our full preview piece on allchgo.com. So if you're not a member, make sure you become one. And a quick way to do that is by making a $50 or more first-time deposit at PointsBet. Do that, and you will receive a free CHGO membership. That unlocks all of our web content, and you'll even get a free shirt of your choice from the CHGO Locker. That's $2,000 in free bets, a free CHGO membership, and a free t-shirt from the CHGO Locker, all for making a $50 or more first-time deposit at PointsBet. And when you use that promo code CHGO, you're going to get 2 risk-free bets up to $2,000. So that is an awesome deal. Get on that membership for all of our off-season content. There's going to be a ton of it. All right, we're going to wrap things up. For Greg and Mario, I'm Jay. Thanks to Joey for producing the show. We'll talk to you Tuesday afternoon at 1:30 for our Round 2 Stanley Cup Playoffs preview and a whole lot more. We'll talk to you. Thanks for listening and for watching the CHGO Blackhawks Podcast.